Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Australians. Just wanted to give you a quick update for from the people's media, shall we call it. Nothing to do with mainstream media. Had a really good turnout in Melbourne yesterday. It's great to see so many people and unite with so many like-minded. We've all had enough of this government. I think we need to look at yesterday's turnout as a trial run, shall I say, for what's to come. So rock and roll from here on in with everyone. I'll use Karen Brewer's words. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So looks like we could be having fun on lots of weekends. There are a couple of things I wanted to run over with people. Now, this one here is one that I started to read out to the police yesterday before I got arrested. I'll read it out to you, and I will post these papers on my wall so you can, I don't know how you do that, like take a screenshot, I suppose, and then you can print it out to take to all future peaceful gatherings. So this one is just basically a notice to all police officers of the Commonwealth. It is the common law exercise of rights. No implied contract, all rights reserved. No duty to identify self. The common law does not require a citizen to identify oneself or carry identification of any sort. This is a no statute authority. An ancient principle of the common law that a person not under arrest has no obligation to stop for police or answer their questions, and there is no statute that removes that. The conferring of such a power on a police officer would be a substantial detraction from the fundamental freedoms which have been guaranteed to the citizen by common law for centuries. And that is a quote from Justice Stephen Kay. And we also have an Andrew Hamilton versus Director of Public Prosecution. So it is a Victorian Supreme Court ruling. And these are some of the things that we need to look at. I had some interesting conversations with several of the senior constables there yesterday after they took the handcuffs off me. And I must say, look, we've got to expect that the police are going to be there. I mean, what's the worst scenario? They're going to handcuff you. I just put my hands behind my back and ask them just to move those cuffs a little bit off my my bony wrists there. And they were very compliant, shall we say. I did get fined with a fine for breaching the health officer's directives, but you know, when speaking with the police there, it is quite concerning when you start mentioning the laws of the land, our constitution, our Commonwealth constitution, that they know nothing about it. And they freely admit that. One of them tried to pipe up and said, oh, well, you know, it's state law. And I said, but your state law is null, void and inconsistent if it is inconsistent with our constitution as per section 109. Null, void and invalid. The state laws, if they do not meet up to our supreme law of the land, our constitution, may as well just throw them in the bin. So it is very concerning. They've got no idea about the law of this land. And secondly, they use that as an excuse that they don't know it. So very concerning. I think they have all had enough. I did speak with one of them and said, what is the point of all of this? These fines are invalid. They're just going to get thrown in the bin. Even Jill Hennessy pointed that out, that most of them will just be dropped because they are unlawful. There is no law behind these fines. So when I pointed that out to one of the senior constables, he said, I really don't know why we're doing this, because it is just a waste of time. The police are fed up with this as well. So let's hope as this continues on that they're just going to turn and stand with the people. I'll go over just a couple of really quick ones. They are in breach of the actual act that they are claiming they are adhering to, which is the Biosecurity Act 2015. They are in breach of section 60 and 61. You need to have an order written out to you as an individual to ask you to wear a mask and to isolate yourself only if you have been found sick with a deadly contagious disease, if you've tested positive. This hasn't occurred. So Chief Health Medical Officer's directives are null, void and invalid. So that's another one for you. A pretend law made in excess of power is not and never has been law at all. So this is another one from the High Court of Australia, Justice John Latham. We've got all of these precedents that have been set in the High Courts and the Supreme Courts. They are acting unlawfully. We've got the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities. Section 12, freedom of movement. Section 21, right to liberty and security of person. And we have got our freedom of expression. We have got the right to protest. None of these rights can be removed. So, people, don't be afraid to show up to protests. We need us all there in numbers standing up for our rights. It really was concerning to see that all that violent, aggressive sort of incitement was coming wholly and solely from the police. All armed up to the hilt and pushing into peaceful people with their horses, nabbing people, even, elderly ladies sitting there minding their own business on benches. And I must say, it was rather comical. One would have thought we were at a circus of some description. We had a whole lot of police made this big show about getting out of the back of a van, and they put all their Power Rangers Star Tracker Stormtrooper shit on, and I tell you, they couldn't even walk in it. A couple of them nearly fell over their own feet. Why on earth they even had that? They sort of all went up the street. They went up Birdwood Avenue and disappeared. And as far as we know, they all just got back into their little buses and went back to wherever they were going. So it was all just a show, which was actually quite comical, watching them nearly fall over their own feet, armed up with Perspex shields. And, I mean, we are the unarmed people, and we are having violence incited upon us by these armed forces, which is the Victorian Police Corporation, that have gone rogue. They're not operating under any law at all. The other thing that I did manage to get a couple of these out to the police officers. I'll also put this on my page. So this is the criminal charges for common law grand jury from Brian Shaw. The defendant is Victoria Police, and there's their ABN number. I'll be handing a whole lot more of them out at each protest. All we've got to do is to sign the bottom. You put your name in and address in as witness one, and you then sign it. So count one is basically informing them that they have with deliberate intent concealed the unlawful and illegal removal of the statutory oath of allegiance to Queen Elizabeth II. So basically, anybody that has been, so from the 1st of January 2004 up to present day, none of them are sitting with any authority. It's all unlawful. They have not sworn their oaths. So no police officer, no judge, no magistrate, no member of parliament is sitting with any authority. So count one is charging them with the concealment of the removal of the Queen from the statutory oath. Count two then follows on, which is the misprision of treason. So they're all sitting in treason. This has been sent to all Victoria Police, so every station should have a copy of it. I shall also have at the next protest the 138-page document from Brian Shaw charging lots and lots of them. So I can email that out to people if you want to print it out, but that has been handed in at police stations. They're all very, very well aware of it. I think this is another one that's appropriate. When a government becomes a corporation, which we know we are running now, instead of being the Commonwealth of Australia, we now have the Australian Government Corporation with an ABN number. So when a government becomes a corporation, there no longer exists any form of representative government under the framework that is the United Nations Charter enforced via the Bilderberg Steering Committee. Today, what presents itself as your council or government, or more correctly, the men and women working within the same, defraud you by pretending they represent you and operate according to the parameters of the office they hold after you gave them your vote to hold that office. What we call government today is in fact an incorporated entity. That means that because they are corporations, they can no longer represent you, an autonomous living man or woman, due to the fact that council and government has changed jurisdiction. They have shifted from a realm of laws to a realm of commercial legislation controlled by the UCC, and for the movement of the cargo comes under shipping, UPU. They call this the legal system. However, they actively keep up an act in which they work very hard to convince you that they represent while I'll start that one again. However, they actively keep up an act in which they work very hard to convince you that they represent you, while knowing the contrary to be the fact. Let's keep on it, people. We've just got to keep on it. I want to put a couple more videos up with some more information, and I shall screenshot the common law notice, the exercise of rights, and I shall also put up a screenshot for the criminal charge for common law grand jury. So you can simply write your name on that and hand that to police officers when they ask you for your identification. I just had mine folded up and ripped it out of my top. Went, there you go, you've been served. We've also got the notices of prohibition and the schedule of fees. So I did hand that to the lovely young lady who decided to shove a fine in my bag, which I did not consent to. She shoved that in my bag while the other police officer was holding it. So she put her hands in the air and didn't want to take this. It's got the fees on the back there. So that was shoved in between her little walkie-talkie and her vest. So she's got it. She put a fine in my bag and she received that. Take care, everyone. See you next Saturday.